I'm sure that you may have heard of the Asian carp as an invasive species that's threatening our Great Lakes, however you probably haven't heard of an invasive plant known as Phragmites. Did you know that a single Phragmites plant, or a common reed, can produce over 100,000 seeds in a year, leading to the destruction of native habitats and increased risk of wildfires? What's even worse, these invasive plants are lining some of the shoreline in Saugatuck, and there's seemingly no action to stop them. We should take action on this issue. Phragmites pose a negative effect on our environment due to the lack of biodiversity wherever they may take root, so if steps are taken now, the dangers of Phragmites can be mitigated. So, what exactly are Phragmites, though? Phragmites is a non-native species to West Michigan, originally stemming from Eurasia. They came here on trade boats carrying cargo in the 19th century. It is a reed that grows up to 13 to 15 feet in height, and it is incredibly difficult to destroy once fully grown. They reproduce by stolons and rhizomes that spread by wind, water, and human activities. It ruins recreational areas and viewscapes of the natural area. Currently, as it's spring in Michigan, the Phragmites are a brown-yellowish color such as this, which is kinda gross, but in the full swing of summer, they've got a green stem and reddish top, which makes them very distinct compared to other plants in the surrounding area. Now, you may be asking yourself, why should I worry about this? What's the big deal about a plant called something as harmless as the common reed? And this question can be answered in a number of ways. Phragmites are a threat to an area's biodiversity, as well as a threat to waterways, something that, as a city on Lake Michigan, we rely heavily on. Our economy is based on things like boat rentals, commercial fishing, beaches, and lakeshore houses. Without biodiversity in this area, due to the invasion of Phragmites, we might lose some iconic animals, plants, activities, and views that bring in tourists from urbanized areas. It is also important to note the increased risk of wildfire and health hazards for particularly sensitive groups of people, such as people with asthma and COPD due to the large particles associated with the stems and flowery tops, and it also increases the risk of vector-transmitted diseases from mosquitoes such as the West Nile virus, Zika virus, and malaria, which kinda, not good. Phragmites also release a high amount of methane, a greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere, causing a contribution to global warming and climate change. As I said before, there are two kinds of Phragmites. There's the invasive and the non-invasive. The difference between the two? How spread out they are compared to each other's location. The invasive Phragmites grow right next to each other, whereas the non-invasive ones grow more scattered about. Also, invasive Phragmites are just bigger and stronger in general, which makes them worse as they're harder to get rid of and closer together, which means there's no room for animals to use the space they occupy, which means no mutualism, or symbiosis, or anything really. One way to say this would be it causes a lack of biodiversity. So, a lack of biodiversity is bad because it provides us with clean air, fresh water, good quality soil, and it helps us fight climate change. As my best friend Sir David Attenborough says,
biodiversity provides us with the food we eat, from the microorganisms that enrich the soil where we grow our crops, to the pollinators who give us fruit and nuts, and the fish that are the main source of animal protein for around 1 billion people. The natural world shelters and protects us too. Trees and shrubs protect our homes from flooding, and coral reefs and mangroves shield our coastlines from storm surges.
The lack of biodiversity is also an issue because of the effects it has on the soil. Soils can prevent some plant species from growing because of waterlogging, poor aeration, acidity, heavy metals, and high soil strength. This is the case with Phragmites, so action would need to be taken with the soil once they're eradicated from an area so that new, more diverse groups of plants can come in. We can prevent the spread of Phragmites by cutting the plants to waist height so it makes it more difficult for 1, the seeds to spread, and 2, it allows other plants to grow, as it gives more access for sunlight to the ground. Herbicides can also be used just as long as it's applied only to the specific Phragmites plant and not around it. This is the most effective method, however it is also the most dangerous method as it kills other surrounding plants and it can infect the soil as well, which is, well, not good. We should be concerned about the spread of Phragmites, as it's threatening ecological stability wherever they might be, but we shouldn't, put on the tinfoil hats and run around frantically about it. It's something that can be managed, at least for now, which is good. I encourage you to join a volunteer group that is dedicated to Phragmites removal from our local ecosystem, as well as reporting them to the Department of Natural Resources or the Midwest Invasive Species Information Network, or more locally, the Kalamazoo River Watershed Council. Alright? Okay. Cool. Thanks for watching.